Hello, students. So I wanted to take today's lesson, and I just kind of wanted to share my participatory research project experience with you. It's a very short video, but I just wanted to talk about how I did it and how I came about doing it. So from 2006 to 2013, I was executive director at the Salvation Army Center of Hope in Palm Beach, Florida. Now, this was an 85-bed residential program for um, men and veterans. Now, because I was the executive director, they invited me to join the Homeless Coalition. The Homeless Coalition was a continuum of all the organizations in the county that provided any kind of services to people who were homeless. So we were always recruiting other people to join us, but it basically meant if you were providing bus tickets or clothing or shelter, food, job training, anything, any kind of service, religious services. It didn't matter if you do anything for people who are homeless or people who are homeless were invited to participate with you. We wanted you to be a part of the homeless continuum, or it was actually our continuum of care. We named it the Homeless Coalition, and we also did advocacy efforts with the in addition to the services. So when I came on board, the Homeless Coalition was recovering from a scandal that they had recently gone through. One of their directors had taken a grant from accepted a grant from the county, but they had not performed on the grant. So basically, they took the money and ran. So the Homeless Coalition was rebuilding at this time. So we were doing a lot of recruiting to bring new people on and to reorganize our leadership. I was I was elected as the secretary for the group after I'd been in the group for about maybe 6 months or so. Anyway, we started identifying projects that we needed to work on and trying to solicit new members. And one of the things we wanted to do was that we didn't have a good uh, record of who all of our service providers were, where they operated from, the hours that they were open, and the services that they did. So I actually said I would volunteer to chair that program. That's one of the things that I would do um, as a member of the Homeless Coalition. And I knew that I was going to need help, but I also had residents and I had my interns working with me. Now, the way that this worked is at the time was that if you were homeless or you were a person who needed services, you would dial 211 and the information, the Treasure Coast information would ask you, what are you looking for? And you might say, well, I'm looking for a shelter bed for a family, or for I have a homeless family that I'm working with and I need a bed for them, or a shelter. And they would look at your zip code or the area you were in, and they would tell you the closest provider. So that information at the time was not up to date, and our project was to make sure it was up to date. Obviously, I couldn't do this by myself. So the first thing is I called my interns in and I said, let's see how we can plan this project. So we divided the county up into 10 areas, and we said, let's solicit our um, residents and see if they want to help. So we told them about what the service area looked like right now, and what we hoped would come from if they helped us to map this out and make it more robust and accurate. So we told them at the end of it, they would each get their own copy of all of the service providers in there and where they were located, and that so that they would be able to do this service without even having to call 211. And then we asked them if they would come in and each one of them take a section, well, not one, but in groups, they would take sections of the county to canvass them and see about what services were operating and get all the information about those programs. and they volunteered. They said, yeah, we're going to be in and out. We go all over the county anyway, doing looking for jobs and stuff like that. So we can do this while we're out, doing our regular stuff. And that's what we were hoping they would say. So we assigned about 7 or 8 of them to each area, gave them the map, and gave them the list of the service providers that were in that area at the time. And then what we decided to do was to have them go out, canvass the area, go to the places that were already listed by address on the sheets, and then just look around and see if there were other programs in the community, or if there were ones that you know of that were operating, because they were out and about and they knew basically everything that was going on in the homeless community. So we asked them to make sure that you contact those areas. Maybe they're a little mom and pop shop or a church basement or something, or it could be a like a beautician or a barber who would visit the park on a certain day or a couple of times a week to give free haircuts. But we wanted them to document all of these services, and so they went out to do that. So they knocked on the doors of the organizations that we knew existed or we thought existed, to make sure that they were still open, what hours of operation they had, what was their capacity to serve, were there any restrictions, did people need to bring IDs. We got as much information about the service providers as possible, and they all had forms that they asked them to complete so that we could aggregate all the data once we got it. So they also listed other places that they knew helped people who were homeless, such as campsites and libraries. So then we compiled all of this data, and we gave it to the 211 call center, which is their basically the call helpline, and so for people who were homeless. And so we gave it to 211, and their responsibility was to enter the data into their GIS system so that when a caller called in, they could ask them what their zip code was, and they can give them a list of the services that were nearer to their zip code. And that was the purpose of the whole project. So we were pretty much done. It took about 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months to get it done. And we also had a hard copy of a map, and we would every day when the clients brought their records back, we would map them on the map. We would put color-coded pins into the map so we could actually see where all the service providers were located. So once we were all done, I gave the hard copy to the Homeless Coalition and to the 211 services, and we were done. Later on, I was talking about the project with one of my Berry coworkers. She also taught at Berry, and she said, "Hey, why don't we turn this into a presentation for the upcoming social work conference?" So we did that, and we presented the Participatory Action Research Initiative at the conference. Now, after we were done, we wanted to celebrate. So the county actually issued a certificate of achievement to the Center of Hope residents for the work that they did on the project, and we put that up on the wall. And the Center of Hope staff and volunteers hosted an on-site family picnic to celebrate their hard work. We were very proud of the work that they did, and although this needed to be updated, and probably has been since the time that I was there, it was very important at the time for our funders and for our the community, as well as the coalition, the continuum of care. Our grants were contingent on the number of providers we had in the services and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very, very significant and meaningful project. And it didn't take long. There weren't a lot of glitches or complaints. Sometimes the providers hadn't filled in their contact information and would have to follow up with a call, but the clients helped us with that as well. And it wasn't difficult. Once they were done, we gave them all a copy of the report so that they could have their own directory of where the services were. So that was pretty much it. and then we got a chance to present it at a conference. So I just wanted to share this with you and encourage you to consider when you're thinking about participatory research. Sometimes it sounds like it's really difficult, and sometimes it's just not that hard. Sometimes you're not using your own clients, but maybe you're using clients who are in a particular program, and you can partner with that program and let those participants help you with the work that you need to do for your research. And especially when you're doing your dissertation research, because sometimes you guys have projects or ideas that are going to be massive, and you don't always want to say, well, I'm going to call on my social work friends. Even though we get involved in a lot of those research projects, you may want to actually solicit some volunteers. And you can think about doing some things like maybe getting some gift certificates for them after they've helped you out or something like that. Or getting an organization like Pizza Hut to host a party for them or something like that. So there are a lot of ways to thank your participants once they have helped you out. But it is good for you to think about, especially if you have a lot of data to collect over a wide area or over a long time, you may want to think about using clients or other participants to help you with your project. And especially if you're doing something with youth don't usually don't complain about going around and collecting data. In fact, it's fun for them to get out and do these kinds of things. That's it for me. So thanks for watching, and I do want you to use some of these for takeaways for how you're going to do your own projects. And if you have any questions, bring them to class, and I'll be happy to answer them about how you can include participants in data gathering and data entry and any aspects of your research project. Thanks for watching.